Hey guys, DRJ here, and today I want to talk to you guys about consistency in first-person shooters. This is probably as close to a rant as you'll hopefully ever hear me make in one of these down the rabbit hole videos. More or less because I don't think that rants in general usually do a whole lot for, say, furthering somebody's cause. I think oftentimes, it separates myself from today versus, say, 10 years ago when I was playing Battlefield and, spawn camping people while, simultaneously spamming fucking shit talk in chat, is that it doesn't do anything as far as what my goals are. My goals are to improve gaming, create better games, educate gamers, etc., etc. And hopefully the end product is a net result of enough people talking, chatting, creating dialogue, regardless of whether or not we all agree, but hopefully, like I said, that net result is creating better games, and that's the idea behind these videos. However, I've been so frustrated lately, especially with, Battlefield 3 coming out, and in my eyes being such a disappointment, that I really wanted to make one of these videos and talk about, try to talk about the key points as much as possible without going essentially down the rabbit hole and getting off on some ridiculous tangent, and that is essentially consistency. Like, first-person shooters, the reason why first-person shooters to me are so much fun and so great, why I got into them 10, 15 years ago, is because like they, more so than any other game, I feel like they have, the outcome is decided, immediately. I don't know if the pleasure is immediate gratification, but I feel like, it's that challenge, it's that, one-on-one whatever scenario where, it's obvious who the victor is, and you figure that out right away. One of the downsides to first-person shooters is that there are so many variables at stake that go to deciding who the winner is and who the loser is, that when that mountain of variables, when that pile starts increasing, when the types of variables start increasing that are out of your control, essentially is what I'm trying to say, then it becomes very frustrating. What makes first-person shooters so exciting is that there are so many variables at stake. What made the game Battlefield 1942 so exciting back in the day, what made it so much different and more fun to play than, say, Quake or Quake Live, like everybody's talked about now, is the fact that it added that, conquest-style gameplay, added a whole new dimension of not just being about who the best one-versus-one shooter person is, who has the best Twitch kills or something like that, but now it, brought in all these other tactical decisions and things like that. Like, do you want to win as a team? Do you want to, like, capture that flag, or do you want to sit back and just snipe guys? Because sitting back and sniping people all day long isn't going to necessarily capture that flag. That one guy can just go sit inside the building and cap the flag, and you might still have a great KD, which your team's going to lose, and you also missed out on those points too. So like I said, it brought this whole new depth, all this new level, but what's been happening, I feel like ever since then, is regardless of that type of game, like what made that game so much fun was not only the conquest, but it was so consistent. It's funny, what brought Battlefield 1942's downfall, I get people asking me this all the time, was it being patched into oblivion, and it had things come in like Punk Buster that made it extremely inconsistent when you were trying to shoot people. Essentially, if you were going straight and somebody was running perpendicular to you, you could not shoot them with a machine gun. At least you could not shoot them reliably. Very, very, very frustrating, and things like that are essentially what led to the game, burning itself out, and what needed to be patched wasn't. Planes needed fewer bombs, etc., etc. But inconsistent gameplay and variables that were out of your control were not taken account for, and as a result of that, like I said, the game stopped being played. What is so very frustrating to me right now, especially as time has gone on since then, is that it seems like games are being developed either almost intentionally, like I talked about before, with increasing accessibility to games, and then as a result of that, indirectly creating a whole lot of variables that are outside of your control. Or games like Battlefield 3 seem to be coming out, and it's just like they didn't even give a fuck what was going on. I mean, it is so inconsistent on so many different levels. This is coming from somebody who was a die-hard Battlefield fan. Like, that's what I mean, I lived to play that game. I mean, 10 years ago, I just loved it. It was so much fun. But Battlefield 3 is so inconsistent on so many different levels, like the lag, the spawning, the graphical stuff. It's ridiculous. I can't tell whether or not I'm being shot through rocks and trees. Maybe it's just the lag. Maybe maybe I actually died 2 to 3 seconds ago. I don't know. Why is that guy that I'm shooting like teleporting all over? Why is he going underneath the ground and shooting me there? You know, why does it feel like it takes me, you know, 10, 15 rounds to shoot a guy, or a full clip sometimes, but I know like when I'm dying, it's happening pretty much instantaneously, and other times I'm shooting people and they do seem to die instantly. You know, I know for a fact that I am dying out, you know, running around the corners and dying after I've gone around the corners. Like I said, each and every one of those variables that starts accruing that is outside of your control, and as a result of that, leading away from consistency, you know, to me it just feels like pulling, you know, why not pull the plug on first-person shooters altogether, like, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, why bother even playing them? You know, what happened if the guys who are playing StarCraft, you know, every 10th click that they clicked on just simply didn't register, and as a result of that, you know, they sent off the swarm of friggin' Zerglings to go kill something, only that last click where they sent them off to go attack something didn't register, therefore I didn't get that kill and lost the game. Like, would they accept something like that? Fuck no. Like, so why are more people not upset about the lack of consistency in first-person shooters? You know, even in an extremely well-balanced game, you know, with great hit detection and good net code, and it feels like their bullets are hitting, and, you know, there aren't guys all over the place that are running in from 10 different spots that shoot you at the same time while airstriking the fuck out of you. Even in a game like that, occasionally there are factors out of your control, but when they're the minority, it's not this frustrating situation. Also, as people are trying to learn and grow and improve and become better at first-person shooters, I mean, good luck trying to do that when there's all these factors and variables that are outside of your control and you're unable to influence them. How are you supposed to figure out what you're doing wrong and what you need to be doing right in order to become a better player? You know, like in Battlefield 3 tonight, I mean, I loaded in, what, 4, 5, 6 times, and I'm loading in on the default spawn, and I'm sniped to death instantly. Apparently somebody has, you know, sniping in, zoned in on the right spot, and they're shooting everybody who's spawning in on the default spawn point. What are you supposed to do to get around that? Why not? I mean, I feel like I'm being punished as a result of just trying to spawn into the fucking game. What's the deal with that? Why? Oh man, why when I'm throwing grenades am I blowing myself up through walls? I mean, why? I don't know. There's so many different instances with Battlefield 3, and it really doesn't matter about specific instances. The whole point is, like I said, consistency, and it just seems like something that it is the one variable that, ironically, we're talking about all these different variables, it's the one variable that devs either seem to purposefully be driving away from it, or in the case of, say, Battlefield 3, it feels like they just simply don't give enough, care enough to focus on consistency. So, I don't know, you know, as far as like my own opinion on first-person shooters, I feel like I keep playing them in the hopes of coming across the game that I came across nearly 10 years ago. You know, even that game 10 years ago, it had a lot of issues, but one of them was really not consistency. That's the one thing they had going for it. It's one thing that a lot of those games had going for them a long time ago. And is the one major factor that seems left out, like I said, either indirectly or unintentionally or sometimes almost on purpose as a result of making games more accessible. And because first-person shooters, you know, that the outcome of any given encounter or battle or whatever is decided so quick and so fast, even the smallest variables can step in and influence those battles. And like I said, when those are outside of your control, as somebody like myself who wants to be the best and who wants to play well, or as anybody who simply just wants to play the game and enjoy themselves, I would imagine it would be very difficult to do that when you feel like you're dying and it's outside of your control. And I'm wondering why more people are not more upset by this. Like, I feel like I'm one of the few individuals who is. I mean, is there anybody else out there who feels like this? Am I really the only one? Anyway, as usual, I'd love to hear your criticisms, thoughts, critiques, all the above, so let me know.